Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it is time for the Monday Q&As. So let's get to the first question. How long did it take you to get flexible after being bedridden? I work at a desk which has made my hamstrings very inflexible. How do I approach this? For me, it took me about a month of stretching to get reasonably flexible again, and I thought I was flexible again until I started weightlifting, and then I found I couldn't squat with a barbell without extreme amounts of lower back pain. So I had to spend a lot of extra time working on my hamstrings. And the best approach, I think, for that, if you have a desk job, you are going to have problems with your hamstrings tightening up. Do hurdler stretches every morning and every night. But generally, about a month of regular stretching and mobility work, if you're really tight, will make a very, very noticeable difference. All right, next question. Would an enhanced intermediate benefit doing a novice routine like ICF 5x5? This kind of goes back to my question of why would an intermediate be enhanced? I'm not really a fan of people going on gear without at least 3 years of serious training experience. But to answer your question, yes, a first blast will replicate the type of progression you can make as an early novice. So a novice type progression program will be suitable for an intermediate or advanced lifter who goes on their first blast of being enhanced. And they will return to making noob gains again those months. But keep in mind, eventually that will die off. You won't make the same type of gains staying on. That's the thing you have to understand, is that look at IFBB pros. There are IFBB pros who have a $50,000 a year drug bill, and they gain less than 5 pounds of muscle a year on that. So just like with anything else, there's always going to be diminished returns. It's basically the way Dave Tate has put it: you're flipping a card once. You can get your noob gains in the gym once, unless you lose all of it and then you redo it with muscle memory. When you go on gear, you can flip that card once and make that burst of gains again, and then will slow back down in your progression even while you're on them. And if you come off of them, you'll regress to some extent. And so you usually see with guys who are making continual amazing gains, even who use stuff, they're just upping the dose every few months, or every year they use more drugs than they used the year before in order to make continual progress. But in effect, anytime you flip a new card, you're always going to go back to being able to use novice style progression patterns again. Whether that's going on drugs, whether that's going from being a casual user to a high dose user, will flip another card, or if you are completely natural or enhanced and you detrain massively, you'll be able to flip that noob gains card again and use a noob style training protocol. All right, last question in this one. Is swinging the weight on bicep curls effective, Kanevsky style? Well, obviously, if Eric Kanevsky is doing it, it is the most optimal way to train. But all joking aside, it's not necessarily a benefit to that. Now, we could argue about getting better eccentric reps with a heavier weight and all of this other nonsense, but realistically, if you're cheating to use more weight and you're reducing potential range of motion and other things on an isolation movement, you're really kind of defeating the purpose of even trying to do an isolation movement. But I would say that any benefit you get from the heavier eccentric is being canceled out by the complete change in the way the tension is on the range of motion on the concentric rep. So it's probably not going to give you any better gains than if you had just used strict form with a lighter weight. And I'm not going to say that one method is more optimal than the other, but I will say that I think it's a bit pointless to bother to do an isolation movement if you're just going to turn it into a big compound again anyways. But that's just my take on that. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys in part 2. But let me give you guys a bicep shot first.